for it. We're moving on now and talking about the real estate industry, but talking specifically about education in the real estate industry. The introduction of a dedicated Henley Real Estate Center for Africa. It aims to provide the highest standards of postgraduate and executive education for the real estate, built environment and planning industry. So if you get excited about the property sector, the built environment, this is the place to be. Call us on 08 91 104 207. SMS is 34701. In conversation with our resident property expert.
Residential.
Yeah, I'm thinking residential property resident.
Okay,
Yeah, you do that too.
Yes,
amongst the many
right
things
at home.
that you do.
Yes.
Dineo Mulomo with us, and of course she's going to be heading up the Henley Real Estate Center for Africa, and we'll also be joined by the Dean of the Henley Business School for South Africa. That's John Foster Pedley, joining us in a moment. But for right now, hi Dineo.
How are you?
Very strange to see you on a Thursday. Just
I know.
feels weird. You're taking me back. You're taking me back a few days. So this centre finally up and running. I know you told me about it, and I suppose motivated by an interest from people in real estate education.
Absolutely, Siki. If you remember, it was beginning of this year in February sometime. It was the first week of February, to be exact, when we had a guest speaker who was Ginny Gibson. And she's Deputy Dean at University of Reading and Henley Business School in the UK. And at the time, we made the announcement and said that, yes, there's a great interest in South Africa and African continent as a whole to have more in terms of communicate, or at least education in the real estate sector. And this is what we are at the moment. This is what we are answering the call to, because the interest has been there, because the questions have been sent through. And after all, Henley Business School has been in South Africa for a good 20 years now, and has been leading in terms of offering MBA education in particular, with triple accreditation to them, and they've been known for quite a while. And here's one division that has just been developed to focus on real estate, and real estate in particular for education is not a newcomer as far as the Europe standards are concerned. So it only makes sense that we go knocking to the doors of those that have the experience, and rather say to them, we need something that's tailor-made, yes, for us here in South Africa and African continent and our economy and our dynamics of the property industry here. So Henley Business School in the UK has been, running the real estate and planning school in particular for quite a while.
And that's in the UK, established
in the
1968.
UK. That's
absolutely
correct.
So you'll tap into, I suppose, those resources, their teaching and their research expertise as well.
Absolutely. The commercial industry, industrial industry of real estate has a great need in terms of finding an avenue where the education can be expanded a little bit more. We don't have a facility at the moment that has been looking at that specifically. Yes, you have the Wits universities with a couple of courses, well-respected courses that have been running and been well researched for a very long time. You have the University of Pretoria, you have UCT as well, doing development courses over a number of years in partnership with the associations. One that I can actually make a mention of is South African Property Owners Association, that has played quite a key role in the past years, where they've researched and given the information back, talking from the aspect of the property owners themselves and the main key people that are running the industry.
All right, we're going to take calls as well on 08 91 104 207, 08 91 104 207, SMSs to 34701. So what are your plans for the centre? What are your aims for it?
Great. The plans and the mission that we have is to make an introduction of postgraduate education in particular. This is for your advanced executive training and education in the real estate industry space. And what we're looking at is to approaching and talking to the real estate industry as a whole, starting with commercial, starting with property management, with the financing part that includes property as a whole. So we want to have an arm that includes research where we can collect and gather information that's credible, that can be shared out there in terms of the dynamics of what's happening within these companies themselves. So research will research as well as partnering with these companies is our first step.
Okay.
So the courses themselves, they're not ready as yet.
Yeah.
Yes, we've had quite a lot of demand since we've made the announcement to be asking what kind of courses are going to be there. Yes, we'll have qualified courses that will actually take us through, starting from certificate courses to advanced courses, postgraduate, and ultimately we will have the master's course in real estate overall. So we'll look at facilities management, we'll look at property management overall. Are we talking to both the category of people that have studied already? Yes, we are. Are we talking about those that are in the profession already? Yes, we are. So yes, we're going to gather up the minds and the knowledge from the industry itself, because we're not just going to drive ourselves individually and say, no, we've got it, this is what we're going to do. We're going to engage the Department of Public Works, the Human Settlements. It will allow us, the Estate Agency Affairs Board, all the associations, the SAPOAs, to ask the question and say, this is what we have. What else can we do in order to tailor make it so that it's suitable for South African standards? Because what
you've
works
got to look at what's needed.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. What works in Europe might not work for us, but at the same time, you could find that what works in Europe could be put into the South African or African continent space, where we could be able to better it and tailor make it so that it works for us. We do have quite a number of challenges in South Africa when it comes to education in the property space. In particular, you can look at the public works and information that has been coming out from there. Yes, we could do with a little bit more in terms of fine-tuning our professionals and asking them as well what they would actually would want to hear.
All right. Well, joining us now as well, and I'm going to give him a moment just to breathe, is John Foster Pedley, who is a Dean of the Henley Business School of South Africa, talking about education in the real estate industry, the launch, of course, as well, of the Henley Real Estate Centre for Africa, aiming to provide the highest standards of postgraduate and executive education for the real estate, built environment and planning industries. And as you know, Dinoa, since we launched the properties slot on a Morning Talk, I think was it last year? How long have we been sitting across? Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
Lots of questions we get from people who say, I'd like to get into the industry. I just don't know what to study. I don't know how and where to go.
Absolutely, Sinki. The question has been coming, like I said. It's response to what the requirement has been for the South African real estate market in particular. There hasn't been one particular school that has had the focus on real estate and what the needs actually are. We're answering to the call of the professionals themselves, asking and saying, okay, after postgraduate, or what else can we do? As I mentioned, the SAPOAs have done courses in partnership with the universities, WITS, UCT is one, University of Pretoria is the other. We're going to be extending the invitation also to be talking to the academics, to be able to do some amount of research and focus it so that it's tailor-made and suitable. But of course, relying on the history that has been built by the Real Estate School and Planning in the UK, as we said. Yeah.
So, John, why does this make sense for Henley?
Well, we've had a real estate school for some years now in the UK, which has been covering the world, and it's been very successful. So we've actually got a series of programs for different sectors of the industry, faculty, research, background, which can all contribute to the proper management of the ethical, green management and social responsible management of resources, of property resources in all their senses. So I think it makes great sense for Henley to do this. And we're very lucky to have found Dinoa to head this up, who's, you know her well. We've been discovering her over the last few months, and who's running this extremely effectively. I think it's going to make a great contribution to the sector and increase the transparency and particularly increase the efficiency and make much better use of resources in that sector.
Because lots of the discussions that are being had now around particularly human settlements, and I know you're going to be talking, you're going to be incorporating government, you're going to be incorporating the commercial real estate sector as well, but around urban planning, how do we create communities that actually function and work, and integrated communities, and ones that are going to be sustainable as well going forward? And a big part of that is around real estate planning.
It's huge. I mean, I was actually in Beijing last 2 weeks, and it was fascinating to see how they're managing the property sector, how they're greening Beijing by getting rid of all the little mopeds and motorcycles and having electric vehicles. And it was fascinating to see how they can manage that. And I was wondering, what would it look like if we could do that in South Africa and Africa generally? Because we can. We've got the talents here. We've got the intelligence. We've got the capabilities. What we haven't had is the proper education. So we need to develop skills through rigorous but empathetic education to help people grow and have confidence in managing those sectors properly. So we don't see the sort of scandals you've seen emerging in the past.
Yeah, which we don't need anymore.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, the School of Real Estate and Planning in the UK, and one of the things we were talking about with Dineo before you joined us was that you already have that wealth of expertise there in research, in teaching, and all of that. So you would be tapping into that, obviously.
Yes, we would. And the other thing that's interesting about Henley Business School, if I may say for a moment, is that we're one of the 1% of business schools in the world that are triple accredited by the American accreditation bodies, the UK ones and the European Union ones, as well as being the only overseas business school accredited by the Council on Higher Education for South Africa. So we've got extremely strong underpinnings. So that means we're rigorous, we're continually under scrutiny, we're always told what we're doing wrong, so we're continually improving, and which keeps us humble. And the other thing, we've got a very, very strong ethos to commit to the development of South Africa. I believe a university exists to serve something, not itself. And in this case, we exist to serve the needs of South Africa by producing the skills that are appropriate for South Africa. And nobody could dispute that the property sector is incredibly important. It's a motive. It's a powerful driver of growth and change. And if we could those sort of communities with proper planning, the sort of things you're talking about, how would that be for us? Can you imagine how that would be? It would be phenomenal. And we can do that. So let's start.
And I see the name of the centre ends with Africa, not just South Africa, so hoping to attract students from outside of South Africa as well.
Exactly, but not only attract students. I think it's to do research, understand the context, understand the needs of Africa more generally, and integrates academics and teachers and people into our programs, and take our best practice here and share it with other countries in Africa and vice versa, and create relationships as well.
We're going to take calls on 0891 104 207, SMSs 34701.
Morning Talk with Siki Mgabadeli.
This is SAFM 104 to 107, talking about the real estate industry, education, the Henley Real Estate and Centre for Africa, in conversation with John Foster Pedley, who's Dean of the Henley Business School of South Africa. Dineo Mulomo, our resident property expert, also will be heading up the Henley Real Estate Centre Africa. So let's read some SMSs. Someone says, would like to study real estate part-time. Please send me more info. So where do people get info? Because I'm going to forget.
All right, let's start with the website, I think, which is the most important one. But we're still developing ourselves in terms of the real estate, the Henley Real Estate Centre Africa portion. So, but the email will be there, and by all means, you can send the emails directly to me. I can respond to that. The website is www.henleysa.ac.za and ac.za. And my email address directly is Dineo, DINEO .mulomo, MOLOMO at henleysa.ac.za.
henleysa.ac.za. So when do you hope to be up and running?
We're working through it at the moment, Siki. The detail in terms of the courses that we're putting together. We're also inviting the industry, as I said earlier, in terms of the brilliant minds that are out there that are going to that are going to be with us in putting the courses together. In the meantime, though, what we're doing is that we're networking with the industry and bringing through people with the interest of the real estate industry. So look out for the advertisements that we'll be sharing not only on radio but on different types of radio stations as well as newspapers and print. But it doesn't stop people from calling as well. So yes, we'll be bringing and putting the topics together in terms of what's happening in the real estate industry at the moment, number one, and bringing the experts and the professionals to engage with, because then that will lead us to the right direction so that we can hone into what exactly, how we're going to shape our courses. Yes, we've identified that it will be a good spectrum of facilities management, of property management that will be included as part of that. But in the meantime, what we're going to be doing at the moment is trying to bring in the experts to accompany us in doing that.
And it's very important to bring those people in, John, because they can tell you where the gaps are, what the needs are, what they're seeing practically in the industry when we are not in the thick of things, I suppose.
Exactly. I mean, we have a range of courses, the master's programs, which have been operating from the UK mainly, but around the world, and a number of short courses. But what we don't want to do is come in with a few offerings we have and say, here, this is relevant to you. What we really want to do is engage with people, work closely with people, understand what the real needs are here, and bring in very targeted, extremely useful programs. They give people immediate skills and immediate capability to improve what they're doing. And for that, we want to create the sort of forum that Dineo has been talking about by having the experts talk to us, sharing information, and then co-designing some of our offerings. Not to say we won't bring some direct offerings in. We are certainly looking at developing a master's in real estate management for emerging economies, for example, which we'll consult in Africa and in South Africa on that one. That's a bit of a lead time on that one, but in the short term, we'll come with short courses, and people can contact us and say, can you do this? Or we'd actually really welcome that, because we have the capability to respond quickly with really sound and rigorous designs to help people learn.
Why is it easy for you to be, the turnaround time to be that quick? Would it be?
Well, mainly because we have the intellectual capital from our global research and the number of experts we've had working on this throughout the world and our history of working in the sector for a long time. So we have programs, we have understanding. And then with the local engagement, we'll be able to construct and design programs very quickly. It so happens that one of our key attributes at Henley is innovative design, and it's one of the differentiators for Henley Business School. Apart from being international and locally engaged, we really major on designing interesting programs that get results quickly and are interesting to be part of.
Here's a question from Nakedi who says, why are the NQF level courses so expensive to enroll? If not, where can I get them cheap, free, or as learnerships?
I think we can ask, or at least the services CETA can be of assistance on that one.
Yeah.
We're going to be including the services CETA in some of our communication in finding out example from the NQF level 4. How we're able to complement what goes further from that, etc. Hence, why we're going to be putting together the associations. Estate Agency Affairs Board is one that's going to be that's also going to be participating, because obviously they look after the interest of another bigger portion of the professionals that are out there in the industry, and we've got lots that we can be including and that can be talking about, but we'll focus on what's most important at the moment, and what is most needed by the industry in particular.
And what's your vision really for the centre? What do you want it ultimately to achieve?
Siki, ultimately what I want to see is for a change an education institute that listens to the professions, because as an emerging country, our economy is quite sensitive in the sense that it needs us not to be reactive, but to more or less, be able to think on our feet in terms of what we can do to lead ourselves within our economy, particularly the property industry. Because if we start even talking the numbers of how much that is worth and how that affects our GDP, if the education complements all of that, and the turmoil that also comes, and taking into consideration the fact that we're still quite a young democracy, and we're still learning in going through things. And I can't help but think of the Department of Public Works when the Minister Nxesi said, people don't just walk into positions and know what to do. Yes, you come with your certificate and your degree, but it may not necessarily mean that you're ready for what is there already. So with that history, we could learn a thing or two from what is out there in the UK from the real estate and planning school at Henley, and be able to bring it here, and also take it forward by understanding the needs for our local people and professionals.
Does that sound like your vision? Or what do you?
It does. I was listening with rapt attention because actually Dineo explained it really well, far better than I could have done, I think, because she's closer to it. But our strong vision is to serve and build South Africa, and that requires skills that work, delivered quickly, that are practical, and when people learn from us, they go back to their work and things run better. And run more efficiently, and we create better value for the people around us, and ultimately we start spreading that money into our families and education. That's how we start lifting the country. And the property sector is so vast and so important that it's a huge target for improved performances. And that doesn't mean we've got to be cold or academic about this. In fact, we need to learn and teach in a way that's very pragmatic, that's very action-orientated. So we like action learning approaches where you learn something, try it out, reflect. So it's like accelerating learning in action. That's what we try to do. So it's not so much having an academic model. Say, learn something, try it out, let's see what works, and it's kind of like a coaching process in managerial skills. And that's what we need here. We need lots of capable people. I always say we confuse education with intelligence in many countries, often in South Africa. And we have such intelligent people here who, with well-crafted education, can rise quickly. And that's what we're looking for the sector.
And good luck with the Center for Advanced Studies in Real Estate in Africa. That is John Foster Pedley, Dean of the Henley Business School, SA, and Dineo Mulomo, who is our resident property expert as well, as the head of the Center for Advanced Studies in Real Estate in Africa.